The movie starts with a group of soldiers walking through an open field. It's the year 1854, and they are at war. An injured soldier fears he will pass away soon and asks his commander for a favor. He wants him to tell his wife how much he loves her, and if his soul leaves his body, he swears to come back and possess his wife. Kind of a wicked last word. The commander partly laughs at this. The next second, the man gets shot right through his face. As enemies launch an assault, each soldier meets their end. One of them is Puang, lying on the ground, barely hanging on to life. He sees the enemies approaching and can do nothing but accept his fate. The unexpected happens as a ghoul suddenly appears before him. An enemy approaches and is about to stab Puang with a spear, but everything slows down. The ghoul proposes a deal to Puang. To keep his life, he has to eat her tongue and serve as its vessel. Desperate to live, Puang agrees and swallows it. After he does, the enemies fire on each other until no one remains. The next scene takes us to the year 1975. Our main character, Yak, and his mentor, Sarge Pafan, barge into a hut where a ghoul is. Yak is in search of the ghoul who mercilessly ate his beloved sister's soul. Vowing to avenge the passing of his sister, Yam, he will relentlessly hunt the ghoul, even if it costs him his own life. Disappointed, he realizes the ghoul in front of him is not the one he's seeking. Taunting Yak, the ghoul claims he will never find the one who consumed his sister. This triggers Yak's anger, and he decides to fight it to get some information on the whereabouts of the ghoul. The ghoul does not stand a chance as Yak easily defeats it. It confesses that the only thing he knows is that the man keeping the ghoul lives in Dong Kamote, a place filled with relentless supernatural horrors. In exchange for the information, Yak promises to help the ghoul cross over. Sarge gets a catfish and tells the ghoul to transfer its soul to the fish. However, with his deep anger at ghouls, Yak doesn't fulfill his promise and instead tosses the catfish into a fire. Yak starts planning his journey to Dong Kamote with Sarge's help. Sarge insists that he's going too. In the first Death Whisperer film, the ghoul that consumed Yam's soul shot Sarge in the head. Yak reminds him about it, asking if he hasn't learned his lesson yet. The scene shifts to Yak's family. His sister Yad is now engaged and getting married soon. Her parents are giving her and her fiancé their blessings. Yak arrives unannounced, surprising the whole family. He speaks man-to-man to Yad's fiancé, who is very intimidated by Yak. While having dinner, Yak's mom asks him when he will be back to live with them. She also comments that it's been 3 years since the ghoul attacked them and probably won't be back. Yak is sure that it will come back and is insistent on hunting it down. No one can stop him from doing so. Later that night, Yak and his brothers are staying up to guard their family. Yad states that although their father acts like nothing happened, he stays up every night until dawn, with his shotgun by his side, guarding the house, in case the ghoul comes back. The next day, Yak continues his journey. They arrive at Laple District to ask around about Dong Komodi, but no one gives them any information. While having coffee, a man approaches them. His name is Lu Chai, and he heard they're planning to go to Dong Komote. He states that he's hunting down Puang's ghoul as well, and wants to team up. He shares that Puang's ghoul murdered her ancestors, and he wants revenge. Yak eventually agrees, and they start their journey. Lu Chai is accompanied by 4 men: Sem, who is both a hunter and a shaman; Kom, their porter, and his 2 nephews, Jirasak and Nawin. Jirasak is a reckless person who keeps provoking Yak. They have to go through a mystic forest to get to Dong Komote. Before entering the forest, Sarge makes an offering to the forest guardian, asking permission to pass through. While walking, Sarge warns them that the forest holds many mysterious things, so they should be careful about whatever they see or hear. Yak hears Lu Chai's nephews bickering and comments that he cannot stand them. Lu Chai asks for his patience and explains that when they were young, Puang's ghoul took their mother's life, so they had no one to raise them until he took them in. Yak asks Lu Chai what his ancestors could have possibly done for them to be hunted down by Puang's ghoul for every generation. A flashback is shown. Lu Chai's ancestor gathered the villagers and a monk to burn Puang's cottage after he murdered his wife and daughter. While burning the cottage, they see Puang's ghoul inside, laughing at them. Puang arrives at the scene and tells them they are now doomed because of what they did. Puang rushes inside to stop the fire, but the cottage collapses on him. Since then, the ghoul has haunted Lu Chai's family generation after generation. Lu Chai says what kept him alive is his Pitsamun amulet that protected him. He also has a Nam Phai iron knife that he says is powerful to harm the ghoul. They suddenly hear unusual whispers around them, and they look around for enemies. A cobra shows up. The snake is sent by the forest's guardian spirits, and it doesn't want them to go in. Sem starts chanting to drive off the snake, but it just attacks him. Seeing this, Jisrak panics and shoots the snake. Losing their guide, Sarge and Yak take charge and lead the way. The night is approaching, and they find a spot where they can camp. Back at Yak's home, after locking up, Yak's dad stays in the living room to guard the house like he always does. Yad is helping Yi to dry her hair off after taking a bath. Yi suddenly starts acting strange. She starts whispering some sort of chant and looks at Yad eerily. This is exactly how it started when Yam got possessed in the first film. Yad is frozen upon seeing that it's happening again. Yi starts pulling her teeth, then threatens that she will never let Yad escape. Yad screams in fear and runs to the door, only to be faced by the ghoul and grabs her neck. Her family hears her scream and rushes to see Yad strangling herself until she passes out. Back in the forest, they camped above the trees to have better surveillance of the forest. Sem suddenly appears out of nowhere, asking them for help in climbing up. This doesn't fool anybody, as they all have seen Sem's demise earlier. Luo Chai also warns them that they should not get off the platform, no matter what. Realizing it can't fool anyone, the ghost starts flying above them. Jirasak hears someone saying they should get down, so he does. It turns out that it's one of the ghost's tricks. Freaked out, he starts shooting recklessly, as if he cannot see his companions around. Only the ghost. He accidentally shoots Comb in the process. Then, the ghost appears right above him, forcing him to point the gun at his chin and shoot multiple times until his head explodes. They decide they have to move to a safer place. Sarge recites a mantra first to protect them. However, Comb starts chanting behind them. The ghost has possessed Comb, but Yak immediately punches it, knocking it out. The ghosts are now after them, so they run as fast as they can with Yak leading the way. Losing his group, Nawan hears voices calling his name and becomes disoriented. He suddenly gets tripped by a hand and passes out. He wakes up with a bad back injury. Then he sees several hungry ghouls around him, slowly approaching. Nawan starts praying, asking for mercy, even promising that he will be a monk just to be spared. This doesn't save him as he suddenly gets attacked by a tiger, splitting his body in two. Yak, Sarge, and Luo Chai finally find a salt lick where they can safely stay, as the ghosts cannot come near them there. They suddenly see Nawan approaching, asking permission to join them in the salt lick. Yak immediately denies him permission, stating that people fleeing danger would not ask for permission, revealing that this is not the real Nawan. The ghost finally steps back and transforms into a tiger. Yak challenges it to step forward while pointing the gun at it. The ghost sees Yak's fearless resolve and backs away. Sarge is impressed by Yak's fearlessness. The morning comes, and they finally pass through the forest. They continue walking until they find a mystic-looking tree. This tree is Puang's sanctuary, where he performs offerings to his ghoul. Sarge decides to look around to find Puang. He finds a murky lake, and sure enough, there's Puang coming out from the murk. Sarge fires a signal shot to alert Yak and Luo Chai. Puang is holding a voodoo doll while chanting. Sarge shoots him, but it doesn't affect Puang at all. Puang squeezes the doll's neck, and Sarge immediately feels he's being strangled, then passes out. Yak arrives before he can harm Sarge further. He asks Puang right away where he is keeping his ghoul. Puang reveals that he has never kept her. Instead, he's the one trapped by the ghoul. He even states that he has been trying to break free for over 100 years, but she just wouldn't let him go. He is bound by the ghoul the moment Puang swallowed her tongue. Then, she forced him to find victims she could feed on, not even sparing his own children. He also reveals that he tried to do a ritual to defeat the ghoul years ago, but Luo Chai's great-grandfather ruined it when he decided to burn Puang's cottage. After that, Puang decided to hide himself from the ghoul. If she finds him and takes her tongue back, her powers will increase twofold, and no one will be able to defeat her then. He states that the only reason she cannot find Puang is that he wears an amulet that hides his presence from her. In an unexpected turn of events, Luo Chai slices off his hand where the amulet is, and calls on the ghoul to come get her tongue back. He reveals that the ghoul promised him that if he got her tongue back, she would stop coming after him and his family. His selfishness angers Yak. The next second, the ghoul's whispers are heard all around, making them feel sleepy. They inflict pain upon themselves so as to stay awake. The ghoul then appears and fishes out her tongue from Puang's mouth, then reattaches it to her. Luo Chai thinks he's finally free from being hunted by the ghost, but as soon as she gets her tongue back, she slices Luo Chai's neck, ending his life. Guess it's never safe to trust a demon to fulfill its promise. Yak shoots the ghost, but it doesn't hurt it at all. It starts whispering again, making Yak sleepy. He falls to his knees despite his efforts to fight the whisper. However, this ghost is too strong, and it effortlessly makes him point the gun at his chest, then pull the trigger. The ghost laughs eerily and tells Yak that it will eat every member of his family next. Yad's wedding is approaching, so the family heads to the hotel to set up the venue. Yad is starting to worry about Yak as he hasn't come yet. Her brothers comfort her, saying Yak will never miss Yad's wedding. She's also very saddened by the fact that her sister Yam is no longer with them to witness her special day. Running out of ribbons, she, her mother, and Yi decide to go and get more. Seconds later, the power suddenly goes out. Then, strange things start happening. The floor starts cracking, so the three nervously walk back. Meanwhile, inside the ballroom, the ground starts shaking, and the door gets locked. They try to open it to no avail. Yos gives his dad the gun Yak left filled with Pitsamon bullets. His dad shoots the door and it immediately opens. They start hearing the ghouls whisper around them, making them sleepy. They try their best to stay awake. Yi falls asleep, and she gets woken up by her mother. But it turns out it's not her real mother, but a ghost impersonating her. Seeing this, her real mother follows her, but the ghoul finds her and controls her. Yi eventually discovers that the woman with her is not her actual mom but a ghoul. Yi manages to fight back and escape. She runs away and finds her mom, who is now possessed, and starts attacking Yi. The enemies eventually find her. Luckily, Yos comes to the rescue together with Yod. The ghost is too strong even for the two of them, and just as she is about to stab Yod with an axe, Yak, surprisingly, appears. It turns out that the bullet did not pierce through, because Puang wrote a mantra on his voodoo doll, making the skin impenetrable, and this protected Yak. Yak puts a Pitsamon bullet on his mother's forehead, freeing her from the ghost's control. Yod is still lost in the hallways, and the ghost attacks her. As Yod falls to the ground, her consciousness is taken back to her home. She sees Yam standing there, saying she misses her. Yam makes her feel guilty for wanting to marry and leave their home, saying that while she will have a good life after marriage, Yam will never experience the same. She asks Yod to be her vessel if she wants to help her. This reveals that the girl in front of her is actually the ghost, trying to trick Yad. Back in the hotel, Yad slowly regains consciousness and picks up a shard to stab herself and fight the ghoul's control. However, the ghoul stops her and pulls out her tooth. The ghoul is about to swallow it to finally make Yad its vessel, but Yak stops it just in time. The ghoul cannot see Yak as he is wearing Puang's amulet, making him invisible to its eye. The ghoul asks how he managed to get to the hotel so fast. Yak answers that he flew. One might think he's just kidding, but it turns out he actually did fly, using a helicopter. What a funny man. The ghoul is angered, and it takes Yad by her neck, dangling her from the tall building, ready to let go. Yak tells it to take him instead. He removes the bracelet, and the ghoul finally sees him. Then, the ghoul lets go of Yad, but Yak fortunately catches her. Without Puang's amulet, Yak is weak against the ghoul. It starts controlling Sarge, pointing his gun at his face, but Yak intervenes quickly. However, the ghoul stabs him in his abdomen, severely injuring him. The ghoul starts laughing at him, but Yak has a crazy personality and just laughs back at it. Then, the ghoul's mouth suddenly opens forcefully, and its tongue sticks out. It turns out that Yad took the amulet so the ghoul could not see her, then pulled out its tongue. Yak takes his knife and cuts off the tongue. Then, he gives the knife to Sarge, who stabs the tongue right away. The ghoul is now weakened without its tongue. Yak's brothers and his dad start shooting the ghost, further weakening it. Yak gives the final blow by fiercely pounding Puang's amulet on its forehead. The ghoul starts convulsing and then eventually dissipates. The evil that has been haunting them for years is finally gone. Yak delivered his promise to his treasured family. Everyone is crying around him with relief. When Yak looks up, he sees his late sister Yam looking at him with soft eyes, smiling at his brother as if thanking him. Yam's soul is finally free.